Hi folks, it's Dane here at JONAH Guitars. Just do a little bit of an introduction here. This bass neck I'm about to use the heat beam on. It was the reason I built the heat beam in the first place. This guitar came into me, it's been a long time ago now, and I was not able to pull it in with the truss rod, even smooth. I'll talk about that other stuff once we look at the neck. So this bass neck came to me. Well, it's the whole guitar. This is got a lot of sentimental / emotional meaning to the lady who owns it, and you know, I want to try to make it work for her. She's already understanding that. I mean, she's already willing to just buy another neck if she has to make this bass play. And I got to tell you that for what I've done to this neck so far, I've never had one that was still this bent. That's why when I saw other people using heat beams, I thought that's something I should look into. So I'd already have the nut as tight as it can go. I already have pulled the nut out and made washers, okay, that fit into the pocket, and I stacked a couple washers in there. So I probably added 30-40 thousandths of you know, washer thickness in there, maybe a little more than that, and retightened everything, and again cranked it as tight as it can possibly go. You know, short of breaking it. I haven't done that, thankfully. And I'll show you. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. And look at my monitor to see. Oh, there we go. You can see the daylight through there. Kind of like driving your truck through there. So, oh, it's not exactly centered. There we go. I'm stacked up feeler gauges until I got to the exact number here, and we're looking at 75 thousandths of clearance. This is with no string tension, with shims behind the nut, and with this nut cranked as tight as it can be. And it's been in a case for 6 months or maybe a year with no string tension on it whatsoever. It has not straightened out remotely with all that truss rod on it. So, thus, the heat beam. Now, when I just took it off the guitar, and it might just be that there's this, I think that was a lot of it. You can see over on this end, she has this shoelace tied around here, and it was kind of riding up like that. So when I first looked at it, it looked like it might have a bit of a twist to it. But I did the same thing with the feeler gauges. I went from this edge, and I went over to this edge, and the 75 thousandths went in on the bass side. It's slightly proud. It wouldn't go under that. But we're only talking, you know, 2 or 3 thousandths that was holding me up there. So I don't think if there's some twist, I don't think there's much. And that's something that if there is after it's straight, if it straightens, then I will deal with that. I can sand this board out flat if I need to once the neck will adjust. And I don't know if I need to mention this, but it's a fretless bass. It just has the white in the fret slots. I think it came from Fender that way. She didn't say she had it done. Okay, so real brief. I just did a test run on my heat beam just to see. I've watched quite a few videos on the topic because I don't have any experience with it, and I've heard numbers as low as 150 being as high as you want to go, and I've heard numbers up to 200. So I'm going to try to stay somewhere between 150 and 175 to heat the neck up. I'm going to put this piece of leather, this old belt that I have, I'm going to put that in between the beam and the, well, I'll use the straighter end, if there is a straighter end. I'll put the leather between the beam and the neck, and then I need to clamp in the middle. I'm going to obviously space the ends up off the beam and clamp the middle so that I pull the neck into a back bow. I'll put some distance here between the ends of the, well, my beam, I was just testing it to see how fast it heated up, so I don't know if it's still hot. Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's still a bit warm. So I made an 18-inch beam because I knew that the majority of what I did would be on a guitar. And so I'm not going to be able to get the entire length of this neck in here. Let's see. Maybe we can... okay, you can see both ends. So I'm basically at the body joint with this end of things. And then this is just about to the nut. And it's actually the heat plates. You can see where the heat plates are on contact with this side because they're coming out from the bottom side of that. Anyway, we're going to do that. So I'll have a piece of leather in there. And I'll build up the ends, and then we'll clamp the middle. And I'm going to loosen the truss rod, although I shouldn't have to, because pulling this into a straighter plane should actually loosen the truss rod. But I've got a bit of a gap to make up there, and I consider just pulling it up flat without putting any spacers because it's already considerably gapped, but I want to go past what it needs to be at least a little bit. So I need to go find some material that I can do that with. I may just cut a couple pieces of leather for each end and slide that in and make that my risers. I think that's what I'll do. And I'm using the leather just to guard the neck. Like I said, this is my first time with something like this, and it's okay if I fail because she's prepared for that, but at the same time, I don't want to do anything reckless and fail just because I was being reckless. Don't want to do that. All right, so we'll cut it right there. Just make these the same, so 4 holes total. It's good. The belt kind of has built-in measurements on it. I'm just going to do a trial run, not a trial run, but first time I heat it up, I'm just going to use 1 layer and see where that puts us. Each one of these layers is well over 1/8 of an inch. Let's see what it says. It's right at 1/8 of an inch, actually. More accurately, 1/15, so it's 10 thousandths shy. All right, so we're going to go like that. And so I'm just going to shoot for the middle of this neck here, or pretty much my 7th fret marker. I have padding on the clamp already, so I really don't need to worry about that. And I'm just going to bring that together. And this feels pretty balanced up here. I built my my beam a little wider than what I've seen on some others, so I get a little better coverage that way. And I'm clamping this way because I'm going to flip it over so the heat goes up. I might have to use a stronger clamp. This is not pulling this up. Yeah, the neck isn't even straight yet. All right, I'm going to have to get a different system here. All right. also think I should mention that I've already done the block and clamp thing while I was tightening the truss rod and all that, which I normally do. That's normally enough. Basically, you do the same thing with a block of wood and some pads, and you pull the neck into a back bow and you tighten the nut. I've already done all that, so nothing at all would pull this thing. So trying to figure out how I'm going to get this up in the air far enough to use this clamp and then still be able to turn it over. Maybe I'll just turn it over first and then clamp it. Oh gosh, I'm a whiz. All right, where's my number 7 at though? I got everything. I don't worry about this camera, so right there. I'm gonna go ahead and use this piece of leather here. All right. I have something else in my vise, otherwise I'd probably just grab the end of this neck in the vise or something, probably make it easier to manipulate. I want this to be over the center of the neck. Okay, we panned out a bit. Now I've got a tough enough clamp that I'm getting some movement here. All right, I'm just trying to keep this thing centered over this beam. And I'm sure it's not that critical. And I'm poking this piece of leather to see if I've actually pushed the neck into the beam yet. I got a little bit of a back bow right now, but not a lot. I mean, I'm going to see if it loosened this truss rod up at all. If I have the right wrench here. I'm pretty sure that Dave over at the Dave's World of Fun Stuff, he likes to leave the truss rod tight when he's going through this. I just don't want it to be a factor. Okay, so I have loosened off said truss rod. All right. Okay, I'm pretty sure I've bottomed out here. Yep. And I am going to stick my thermometer in here just so I have an idea of where we're at temperature-wise. Okay. All right, when I did my preheat on this thing, I accidentally started out at 14 volts. It took about 20 minutes for it to get to 150. So here we go. Set your clock. I got 10 after 8. So power on. Power on. Let me show you my machine over here. Okay. You can see it's set at 12 volts. And that's a DC. 12 volts DC. And it's reading 100 right now. 110 in a couple minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this thing run on up to about 150, 160. I'm going to try to moderate that by turning the voltage down, controlling these heaters to some degree. I find out a voltage that I can just let it go and, leave it and go do something else. I've heard horror stories on forums and different things about people setting necks on fire. It's probably not a good thing for customer relations. All right, so we're at 151. It's been about 12 minutes, 11 minutes. It's 8:21ish, and we started at 8:10. I can tell you, the beam is hot, but I'm not feeling any kind of heat transferring through here. That might just take it longer to actually do that. But while I'm thinking I'm going to go to 160, 165, and just to see if I can feel any kind of transfer at that point. But while we're sitting there thinking about this, I've heard a couple different versions of this, at least a couple different versions of this, and I've seen people use heat lamps and things like that in order to loosen the glue and slip the glue joint on the fretboard kind of thing. I don't believe that's what we're shooting for here. I think if you slip the glue joint, you would also shear the finish between the neck and the fretboard, or fingerboard in this case. Excuse me. And the other thing I've heard, which makes more sense, is basically it's taken years for this neck to set that, really bad up bow, and under string tension, and left tuned up in a case for 20 years or whatever. And so the wood fibers need some help resetting to the straight, or at least even maybe with a little relief, but enough that we can counteract that with the truss rod still like it was originally. So the point here is that without trying to be all scientific, it's just the heat helps reset the wood fibers, and so they'll loosen those fibers up, and then once it's able to heat and cool in this position, then it should hold to some degree. Once I have heated this to a point where I feel comfortable with it and we let it cool down, I'll be back out tomorrow. It's Friday night. Be back out tomorrow here on Saturday and look at it and see if it held any of this bow. If it just goes back to flat, or it just goes back to completely 75 thousandths of relief like it was when we started. But that's why I took measurements, so that we can kind of check and see if we made any progress, where it's at. But I let it go last night after I stopped filming because my phone battery was going to die. It was at 162. I ended up turning this thing down in stages because it would kind of settle out and then it would start to climb again a little bit, so I turned it down a little bit. I ended up at 9, ended up at 9 for a while, and then 8, and then I ended up at 7.5 volts going to these little ceramic heaters. Anyway, and I let it go for half an hour. I shut it all off at 9 o'clock and went inside. I started at 8:10, I believe. So that took about 20 minutes to get the temperature, and then I let it do its thing for half an hour. And then I turned it all off. Enough putting this off. Oh, you know what? I should probably go ahead and snug the truss rod. All right, so it's getting tension. I'm not going to say it's tight. It's definitely snugging up. So the idea here now is that I had it loose while I was cooking the neck, and it cooled and did that whole cycle. So now I've got it back to having what I would consider a lot of tension, since basically got to a point and stopped. And get in there again. Yeah, it's about as tight as I would want to go with it. So now I've taken the slack out of the rod, if there was any slack in the rod, and we're going to see just exactly if it holds anything. Now, looks like it's pretty much didn't do a lot. Get rid of this monstrous clamp here. All right. And these must have had a bunch of spiders hatch out. Now that doesn't look like it did a whole heck of a lot, to tell you the truth. Let's grab these they say 75 thousandths of feeler gauges and check this again and see if we gained anything at all. Oh, you know what? I think we gained something. So right at the 7th fret. Actually, we gained on it. So here's 55, I think. So we got about 20 thousandths on that. So that's great. Let's go over to the treble side. Let's see. Yeah, it won't go under the treble side. And it's the same at the bass side. Okay. So, well, so we're at 55. Well, we're gonna go through this process again, however many times it might take, and I'm just gonna eyeball this neck and try to figure out where the worst of it looks like it might be. And actually, right now, I'll look at it from both directions. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the bump up to, instead of the 7th fret, I'm going to move it up to, say, right in, say, maybe, 3.5, somewhere in that range. All right, just so you know what's going on here. So now we've got the thing back in there, the heat's on. It's at 7.5 volts, and I'm at 78 degrees on the neck, so it's gone up 8 degrees. I'm just going to say it's 9:45 and make a mental note of that, and then just check back here in, say, 20, 30 minutes and see if I'm up to temp yet. So it's had all day to cool off. I've been in and out, different things going on today, cutting the grass, and delivered a couple wedding cakes with my wife. So let's see what we got. Oh, I didn't tighten the truss rod. I probably should have done that. Okay, I'm happy to say I'm not seeing any marring on the neck where I'm clamping this with the belt leather. Let's see what we got here. If we got anything at all. Okay, straight edge. Well, I think, what did we end up with, 55 thousandths? Well, hello, back again. I had the battery just died. This was yesterday afternoon. I don't remember if it's, you may or may not see that in the video, but the camera only came on for a second. I was taking this off and I was going to check it. Well, so it's the next afternoon, fresh battery. I have the 55 thousandths feeler gauge, and I didn't gain anything. The 55 thousandths feeler gauge still goes right there. I seriously did not gain a thing. Now, I didn't tighten the truss rod before I released tension on it, but I mean, I didn't gain anything. I suppose I could tighten the truss rod. It should probably be a worthy experiment. So I got a lot of rod on that. Let's check now and see if we've done anything. 7th fret. No, same problem. Nothing, if anything, it feels like it's looser. which would not be good. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to loosen this nut. I'm going to take the nut all the way off because I can try leaving the duration the same and increasing the temperature, or I could try increasing the length of time or the duration and leaving the temperature as is. I think I'm going to try both, actually. So I've been going up to temperature, which has been right around 160, maybe 162 or 3 at the highest. Now, thinking maybe, and for about a half an hour. So I'm thinking about once I reach temperature, and I'm going to be shooting for, say, 175, then I will leave it for an hour instead of 30 minutes. So we're going to double the duration, and then also we're going to increase the heat by 25 degrees or so, 20 less. I might push it up a little bit more. Anyway, we'll have to see. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing up to about 14 volts, get the temperature to come up quickly, and then settle it on about 175 to 180, and then let it go for an hour or thereabouts. All right, so this is just unplugged it here a few minutes ago. I got a couple odd things going on. I did a final buff out on a body and trimmed the neck to fit in the neck pocket properly, and just glued the neck in, actually. So also been working on the pick guard for that guitar. But this thing got up to, I want to say it was riding just under 190, so about 188. Kind of fluctuated in there, 185 to 188. So I'm going to say averaged we'll just say 185. Left it on for an hour, and so I just undid it. I'm going to leave it clamped up again overnight. I need this bench though, so I'm going to move this thing over to another spot, clear some of the debris. Actually, I'm just going to set it on my router table. Yeah, so I'll bring you back in again here. Well, good morning. Hey, I have a new alarm clock. Some bird on a branch that's too close to my bedroom window likes to jump up there. So he's banging the window at 10 to 6 this morning. My alarm goes off at 6 every day, but he or she, the bird. So I decided to come out to the shop here. I had an extra 10 minutes to drink coffee, think about life and whether or not coffee, and whether or not this neck did anything. So let's have a look. I also pulled I glued a neck into a roadie body. Boy, that snapped right up. I'm not taking that as a good sign. You know what? I think we actually made some differences there. Again, I don't even have the nut in there. So I don't know if here we go. I was wiring a pick guard over here, so I just pretty much just shoved everything out of the camera view or range. So here we are back at the 7. My 55 won't go under there anymore. The 45 will not go in there. Well, it does now. If I'm pushing down, it goes in. No, 45 just scoots, just barely pokes, and it won't push through, but it just poke under the edge. So I might go ahead and do that do the other end again and do it on, I can't do it now because I've got to get my life together and go to work. Anyway, a little progress, 10 thousandths. So more heat, longer duration. It seemed to work. Of course, I don't have any, we won't know until we put it all back together. I can do this as many times as I need to do it, and see if we can get a result. So right now, I feel like we're going in the right direction. So this has been clamped up like this for quite a while. This is the second time that I gave it the 180-ish temp for an hour. So first time was more central, and then this time we're more toward the front. And so we're going to see what we've got as we loosen this up. I'm not going to put the truss rod nut on. I just want to see what the neck is doing without any kind of assistance at this point. A little extra time in the clamp. I don't think that should hurt anything. Meaning that it might even help. Something's going on here. There we go. So, stuck to the leather. All right. The neck looks fine. There's nothing going on with it as far as, you know, getting so hot that things are melting or sticking, or, well, the leather's stuck. But all right, let's see what we get here. So we were, what did I say we were at last time? 485? Yeah, 45 thousandths. Let's see what we got now. Oh man, that is sweet. Well, I might be able to pull it into straight. Yeah, that's not even thinking about it. Let's just go to the thinnest one. I got a 22. Let's go to that one. I mean, I have thinner than that, but my stack. Yeah, so I'm still... So we're at 33, we're right there. Let's go ahead and pop this nut in there and see, that's not the right wrench. There it is. So I'm as snug as I want to be. It's definitely gets to a point where this rod just doesn't react. Oh, well, and it's not doing a great deal, I gotta tell you. Not doing a great deal. So, I'm pretty happy with the results that I'm getting, though. I mean, of course, 30, what did I say, 5 degrees, 32, whatever it was, degrees, thousandths. You know, it's not going to hold that with string tension, so I got 33 thousandths. And that's too high. I mean, that's too much relief anyway, even then. Especially since we're not seeing any type of, you know, pulling with this truss rod. So I want to try to get maybe even into a bit of a back bow. This is the 4th go around. This is the 2nd time with higher heat and more clamping. Well, I should say longer duration. I did add more clamping this very 4th time. Okay, so longer duration, higher heat, and more bow in the neck. Okay, so let's see what we got. And so I don't know, did I just say it or did I just think it? So I had an hour. I had an hour at 180 in the clamp, and then I just let it cool off overnight. And so we'll go with that and see what we got here. It's, well, the belt's, oh, I was going to say the belt's stuck to the beam. It's supposed to be. There we go. It looks extremely straight from here on out. And then it looks like it might have a little bit of a dip right in here. And but we'll put the straight edge on there, and that'll tell us exactly what we've got. I just thought I'd eyeball it first. Wow. You see that? Let me get it up. All right, let's do that. And that again, see if we can try to get that angle. Oh, every time I move it, there we are. The camera doesn't keep up with my live action. So you can see a little bit of light in there. I must have turned the wrong way. There we go. And well, I'm losing the light, so I guess it's just that the straight edge is that much closer to the board. Yeah, so what I thought I saw with my eyeball is what I saw. It's pretty straight on the body end of the thing, and then it has a little bit of a dip in here. I don't know if that's something that I'll be able to pull out with the truss rod nut, or if that is another cooking session. Probably not as bent. I'm kind of oh, that's not the right wrench. Where'd it go? I'm kind of encouraged by this result here. It pulled up nice and snug right here, and what I've got now is I'm able to pull this thing into a back bowl with the truss rod. Okay, however, I have so between the 6th, where it's kind of the high spot, and the nut here, I have about 8/1000ths relief at the 3rd fret. So I am going to go ahead and it's like, why not, right? I'm finding out what I can accomplish with this heat beam. So let's find out completely. So I'm going to loosen this rod off, and I am going to set that beam up so that, and then I'm gonna center it right here at the 3rd fret. So between the 6th and the 3rd fret, and I'm just going to pull that up and heat it and see where that gets us, and see if I can be that pinpoint with it. It's at a place now that I think if I were to put strings on it, it would probably act fine. But I just want to, since I'm kind of experimenting with this first neck here, and if you recall, we started out, I think it was 85/1000ths, and now we're down to zip, actually at the 6th fret. Even without the truss rod on it, I didn't have any gap from the 6th or 7th fret on back, and I just had that little bit of that 12/1000ths at the 3rd fret before I tightened the truss rod. All right, folks, here we go. What do they say? 5th time's a charm. And so same drill. Got it up to temperature, running at about 14 plus volts, and got close, and then turned it down to like 11.5. Back up to 12. Just trying to get the thing to stay steady at about 180, and for an hour. And let's see what we ended up with. All right, let's have a look. I haven't looked at it yet. Let's see what it looks like. Just eyeballing it from the side, looks like it still might have a little bit of a dip there, but maybe more center. It does look like there's a little bit that is more back to middle. Yeah, that's a good thing. Where are my gauges? So I had the 12. This is the biggest loose one I have. So you can see I'm 12. I've run into it up here, and then I run into it. This looks like, I run into it back. It looks more like I'm centered in the area that, here's the 1208. So see if I doubt if it's over 20. Yeah, right at 20 actually. Okay, 20/1000ths. Now the trick will be to give it some rod and see what happens, and if the truss rod gives me the slope I want. I'm actually encouraged by the fact that the dip, and you probably can't even see in the video, but that the dip seems to be pretty centralized in the neck, which is right around the 7th fret. still more than 12. I haven't bottomed out on my truss rod yet though, so I keep getting pretty snug now. I don't know if I can pull this to flat or maybe even do a slight back bow if that will get me where I want to be. Pretty sure I'm under 12 now. Oh, 8 went in there. I was kind of surprised by that. Doesn't look like it's got that much of a gap. 12 is going in right here over the 8th or the 9th fret. Will not go in at the completely in at the 12th or the, excuse me, the 7th fret. I feel like if I start out in a back bow, I probably have a pretty good chance of it staying in a playable area. I'm getting a lot of movement on this rod, so I'm kind of feel like that was it, right? Yeah. That's probably as far as I really want to mess with it. It's pretty snug. And I am into a back bow here. Pretty good back bow, actually. All right, well, I think I'll let a little bit of that off. I like to know I've got a little bit left when I if I put some strings on it. When I put strings on it, yeah, it's in a pretty good back bow still, and I know that I still have a little bit of rod left if I need it. So let's once again, come on, there you go, a little more off of that. I don't know if you guys ever do this, but when I'm moving a rod one way or the other, if you kind of massage things in the direction you want them to go, you don't have to wait for it to iron itself out over a few days. You can usually, there you go, still got some back bow. I'm going to go see if I've got strings for this beast, and then bring the body out, put it back together, and see what we can do. Put this back in yesterday, so number 5 treatment. And then I tightened the truss rod up before I took it out of the clamp, and then I backed the truss rod. I had quite a bit more back bow in it than it has now. So, and I like the back bow that I have in it now. You're not going to be able to see what I've got because I have no idea how this guitar is going to react with strings on it. I don't think it had strings on it when I got it. Might have, but I had new strings in the case. So we're going to go ahead and put the thing back together. All right, folks, we are back. The neck is in the guitar. Put the strings on it, put 3 of the strings on it. I'll tell you right now, the G string that they sent with this set was not long enough to get all the way to the G string. It was long enough to just barely poke down in the slot on the peg head and then bend around. It didn't make one complete turn. It didn't even get close to making one complete turn, and it started slipping out of the hole in the slot because there wasn't a wrap around it to hold it in place. So I tried sticking a used guitar string that was, wound in the slot next to it and wrapped it around the post so it would give it some extra grip. Didn't help. It was a big pain in the butt. All that happened was right at the edge where it broke around the corner, it just stripped the winding off of it and it just slid out. So I've been looking all over the shop. I thought maybe I would have a used bass string that I salvaged somewhere. I can't find anything. I had another jazz bass, in fact, although a left-handed fretted jazz bass in that I just got a part for and finished it off. Anyway, I was hoping that maybe there'd be some extra strings in that case, or used strings in that case. Anyway, but we got enough strings on here to give you a result. There we go. That's all my bass playing. Seems like the lady that owns this thing mentioned something about putting the guard back on here and putting the thumb block back on too, and that's all in the case. I'll have to give her a call. I've had this guitar for so long, it's almost embarrassing, but you know, she couldn't play it the way it was, and so it is now extremely playable. If anything, I might need to put just a fuzz more relief in the neck, but I want to get that G string on there before I know. So let me tell you what the process was. Let me get the neck down here in the picture. In the movie, sort of getting there. So the neck, I showed you before I put it together, that's some backbone. I put the E and the A string on, and I got those to tension, and I checked the neck, and it was perfectly flat at that point. So I loosened those two strings up, and I put every bit of rod I had on the thing, and then I finished straining it up, tightened it up. It had a hump in it still, and it was, the strings wouldn't tune because there was such a bow in the middle of it, and they were hitting. I've also adjusted the height and all that sort of thing, checked the intonation. Everything's pretty good. Well, I did lower the string height. So I went ahead and took a little bit of rod off. So I've backed up rod off, I'm going to say maybe a quarter turn. So I know I still have rod in it. But right now, this neck is pretty much perfectly flat, which, you know, if anything, it's actually still got a slight little hump right there at the 6th, it looks like, 6th fret. Just enough that the straight edge will rock back and forth on it. So the deal is I want to see what happens when I put the G string on and pull it up to tension. So I'm stuck because it's Sunday, can't get a string, and well, you know, I have to call this lady anyway to find out if she wants to do these things. Maybe she's got a string and she can drop one off. Because I told you already, I'm getting a knee replacement tomorrow. I'm out of action. I'm going to go ahead and post this video, even though I don't have a complete result. But I do believe that the heat beam was a total success, which is what this guitar is about. It's about being whether or not the heat beam was going to do what it needed to do, whether or not I could figure out how to use the thing. And I think the first thing I learned was that not messing around with 120 degrees or whatever I started out with. I'm going to go right up to the 175, 180 mark and put some heat into it and a little more duration. Now that could vary with every neck. So I'm not suggesting that any of you do this and use my method. Make your own assessments and adjustments as you go. So that's it. I'm going to call this a wrap. I really feel really good about having saved this neck, and because of the sentimental value in this instrument. Yeah, we could have put another neck on it, but it's, you know, it's really just not quite the same when you do something like that. And in your head, you're always thinking, well, some of it's, you know, his old stuff. So I'm glad that it's complete and it stayed as a unit, and that she'll have this guitar for as long as she wants to. Anyway, yeah, once again, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. And happy Father's Day to everybody that affects, and hope you have a great one, or had a great one, depending on when you see the video. So take care.